And good afternoon, guys, or good morning. It's 11:30 a.m. and today is the 15th of July 2022. Let me just check that everything is working here, the audio and the video. So let's just start with the heat maps. I think the video is working most definitely, and the audio is as well. So just bear with me just a second, please. And there we are. Okay, so let's crack on. The video and audio is working, so I think we just need to crack on straight away. So first of all, apologies for the clickbait title with the bottom signal. I mean, I don't really care where the bottom is, but I shall give you the reasons why I've put that in the title. So it's a little bit clickbaity, but there's definitely a signal that's just printed, so I'll go over that in just a second. So we start here with the stock market heat map, and you can see that the great majority of it, it's a mixed bag, but the great majority of it is in the red. There's a few little glimmers of positivity here with some in the green, but the great majority of it is in the red or neutral. So with the cryptocurrency heat map, the great majority of it is in the green and there's just a few in the red. Obviously we've seen a bit of a short squeeze yesterday and a little move back into the highs, so I'll go over that in just a second. In terms of the calendar, there's not really much going on today. There is the core retail sales and the consumer sentiment as well, but I mean that's not really neither here or there. There's a few more next week and definitely the week after that with the FOMC meeting, but so you know, catalysts for volatility are kind of all right until I think it's the 22nd. Is it the 22nd or the 27th of August? FOMC meeting, where is that? Sorry, it's the 17th of August. 17th of August is the yeah, it's the next FOMC meeting, I believe. Yeah, so we'll have a look at that. There's plenty of time until then, so we'll have a look at that when the time comes, and I'll do another a little overview at the beginning of the technical analysis updates. So let's move on to the charts, and I'll start with the S&P here, the correlation chart, which is the S&P versus Bitcoin. And I already kind of been asked, Nigel, I do apologize for not replying to this sooner, but I thought it would be easier to do it on the TA update. That's all it is basically I just load up the S&P, and I know that most of these charts are delayed. I don't want to pay for the feed. I don't think it needs to, because this is just for TA. I'm not actually trading this. But I just load up the S&P, and then I go here on this signal here, compare and add symbol, and then just add Coinbase, for example, Bitcoin here, BTC USD, add that, and then I change the chart to a line chart, and then the Coinbase one is obviously the orange line here. Okay, so that's Bitcoin, and the blue line is the S&P. And then here on the settings, all I do is I will pin to no scale, full screen, right? And then down here I have a log and percentage as well. Okay, so either log or percentage, it really doesn't matter, but it just kind of like sort of loads it like this. Okay, so that's basically how to load it, and the correlation chart just shows us that basically this is the 1 hour chart, and it shows us that we're kind of like, even though we were kind of like going down here on Bitcoin whilst the S&P was pumping, we kind of like fixed the correlation, and we're going back up when the S&P is going up, and of course we're going down when the S&P is going down. And now we've had a little bit of a sort of a pump to the upside here on Bitcoin, but it's kind of like, and it is reflected here on the S&P as well, but you can see that Bitcoin is leading here. So I'm not sure if this is the end of the correlation, but we're definitely starting to see some divergences in terms of correlation, where Bitcoin is not really as closely correlated as it was back here, for example, right? Well, back in June or even earlier, sort of like way back in April and so on, you know, March, April. So yeah, we're starting to see a few little differences here, and then but you know, it kind of like lines up again, so you know, it could be just a little divergence, but you can definitely see here that Bitcoin pumped, and whilst the S&P was still dumping, and now the S&P had a little bounce, and we're continuing up as well. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that, but I think hopefully we won't be so closely correlated to the S&P anymore, so I don't have to do these comparisons and these correlations anymore. We can just go straight onto the Bitcoin chart. But anyway, let's move on to the S&P first and foremost. Looking at the weekly chart here, and as you can see, I've got here, this yellow line here is basically a 200 exponential moving average. This is the weekly chart. Of course, you can see how the price bounced on that line perfectly. Okay, obviously these guys in the traditional finance, they do look at moving averages. That's just one of the things they look at. They look usually at a 200, 100 and a 50 for moving averages, or even exponential moving averages, and of course it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everybody's looking at that, so everybody's going to be bidding there. It had perfect confluence with this low volume node as well, so of course we were going to bounce there anyway. At the moment we're still struggling to get inside the value area low of the 2021 VWAP. This is the same story that has been for weeks, and that hasn't changed. Okay, so there's no change in market structure. We've still got a very prominent low volume node here at 4,000 points, and until we break above that, there's no sign of hope. Okay, even if we were to break above that, you can see here I've got the developing years value area low. Okay, so the -1 standard deviation of the 2022 VWAP, and that lines up perfectly with that low volume node. And even if we were to get all the way up here, it doesn't mean that it's changed market structure, okay, because it can definitely print a lower high. You know, this is a high, lower high yet again, and even if we pumped all the way up to 4,030 points, it would still be a lower high. Okay, so the change in market structure for me is actually breaking above this high here, so actually testing the yearly VWAP, right? And that's sitting at around about 4,300 points. At the moment it looks too far-fetched, especially with the numbers that came out from the CPI print, which is still very high inflation, and now everybody's looking for the 100 basis points interest rates hike. So, you know, if that's likely, then I mean, I believe it's already priced in, because otherwise we wouldn't have seen this little mini rally here. But nevertheless, we're still way below any expectations of getting out of a recession or anything like that. So anyway, so that's the higher time frames for the S&P. In terms of the 4 hour, let's look at the 4 hour. We're still below the monthly VWAP, and we're also below what has been very significant, which is that 200 exponential, right? The 200 exponential moving average, right? And you can see that it has been resistance, resistance, and resistance for quite some time. And of course, we're still way below it. Okay, in fact, we haven't even tested it yet. But you can see going as far back as February that we were kind of like, okay, yes, we did do a little fake out above here, but then we couldn't get back above it, and we've been below it since, right? So we've been below this 400 exponential here on the 4 hour chart for quite some time. Sorry, the 200 exponential on the 4 hour chart. I think that's what I said. So anyway, we're still below the monthly VWAP. I think we're below the weekly VWAP as well. Yes, we are. Okay, so we're just above the daily here, but there's the weekly VWAP here around about 3,800 points. That's significant. We've also got around about 3,820 points there monthly VWAP, so it's a bit of a clusterfuck of VWAPs as well. You know, trying to move above this, and of course, like I said, the legacy markets, they do tend to look at moving averages and VWAPs. So, and then of course we've got this one at 3,882 points, which is that 4 hour exponential. Now if you look back at this 3,800 points, right, it's basically this resistance here, right, this line here, right, that's 3,900 points there. So again, unless we break above this, there's no chance of hope. And we've got a low volume node above us as well, which is the value area low of that yearly VWAP. and unless we break above this and then go and test this yearly VWAP, which is sitting at around about 4,300 points, then there's no change in market structure. With the Nasdaq is very much the same thing. On the weekly, you can see that where did we bounce? We bounced exactly on that 200 exponential, right? We are testing the value area low of the developing years VWAP. Okay, so that's a little bit better, but again, we've got basically a low volume area and the edge of a high volume cluster just there, around about 12,250 points. Okay, unless we break above these highs here, there's no change in market structure. So it's very much the same scenario where we have to break above this and test at least the value area low of 2021 or the developing years VWAP here, which is confluence with this low volume area here. We're inside of the high volume cluster, and unless we actually get all the way up there, there's no change in market structure. So for now, we remain bearish. The trend is your friend, as they say, and we're still getting rejected from the value area low here, right? So the trend is your friend. We're still doing lower highs and lower lows on the weekly, and there's no change in market dynamics just yet, or in market structure as such, at least not on the higher time frames. Okay, on the lower time frames, you can see here that it's looking a little bit healthier than the S&P. We are above the weekly VWAP, right, and we're rotationally inside the weekly value, and we're also just above the monthly VWAP here, and inside and rotational inside of the monthly value, which is basically this line here, right? So we've got that 4-hour exponential moving average here, 11,960 points, so let's say 12,000, which also has confluence with the value area higher, the monthly. So again, we need to break above that and break these highs in order to sort of like even on the lower time frames, in order to be a little bit more bullish. At the moment, we're not seeing evidence of that just yet. Okay, so with that, let's move on to Bitcoin. Now, I put on the title bottom signal, and basically I did a little bit of I kind of went over it slightly on the Wednesday TA update, although that was an impromptu one and it was a little bit improvised. So I'll just make it a little bit clearer here. Of what this is. This is basically a combination of moving averages, right? So if we look, for example, at the index, right, I'm going to take this off a second, the stalker and the VWAPs, right? I'll put this on the log scale just so it's a little bit clearer. And this is the oldest Bitcoin chart in existence, right? This is an index chart, which I think is provided by TradingView. But anyway, this goes all the way back to 2010, basically, which is the, almost the inception of the Genesis block on Bitcoin, right? So anyway, more to the point, you can see that this combination of moving averages tends to mark out cycle tops, right? And if you've not heard of it, this is called the pi cycle. Okay, so you can look at here on indicators. If you type in pi, it will come up straight away. Pi cycle bottom, pi cycle top. Okay, so really easy to find, and then you can study this a little bit better by looking at the moving averages and changing them about or whatever. But the point is, these have basically been very accurate at predicting the tops. Okay, as you can see here, 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 and here. Although, so it's a small sample size because Bitcoin is quite a young nascent technology, and of course it's only 10 years old or 12 years old or whatever, so there's not a lot of data to go from, but it has been very accurate at marking out these tops and also the bottoms, right? So bottom of the cycle here, even though this candle got taken literally this was January, and in August it got taken down, right? There was a little bit of a dump here that pulled out this previous low, and then we rallied. But either way, you could argue that this was definitely a bottom there. The same here, right? So even on the March 2020 dump, the COVID dump, if you like, didn't take out that bottom, but that definitely signaled the bottom, and we just kind of went up from there, right? And now the most recent top was basically this here, around about April 2021, okay? And now you will notice that actually this top here was taken out and the price did go higher. So this is what I'm trying to say, is that this is not like a, it's definitely the top or it's definitely the bottom. Price will still move, right? Just like we saw here, kind of the price almost revisited there, and almost like way back there when I showed you here for the January 2015, where we basically, that low got taken out as well. Okay, so this is not like extremely accurate on the lower time frames or anything like that. This is a higher time frame kind of signal, but it just shows us that we're very, very close now, right? If the data is correct and if it's anything to go by. So you can see that basically this top here that got taken out, but then eventually we did actually dump, and we've been in a bear market ever since, right? Now it's printed this week. The pi cycle bottom is printed again. Okay, and I'm not sure if as a result, or if the cause or the consequence of that print, you can see that this weekly candle is now just a wick. Okay, so we've not taken the previous weekly levels here, the weekly close or the weekly open, but we're very, very close to it. And you can see that this basically, the shadow of the candle or the little pin of the candle goes all the way down to around about 18,900, so $19,000, and it's now just a wick, meaning that the price went all the way down there this week and come all the way back up again, right? So this is bullish for Bitcoin without a shadow of a doubt, but of course it remains, this level around about $21,000 remains resistance until proven otherwise. I just wanted to show you that this basically is printed now for the first time since bottom that is printed for the first time since December 2018. Okay, so I think this is significant, but I do think that this level here will get taken out. I don't think that's a very good bottom there, around about 17,500, but you know, I could be wrong, of course. So with that out of the way, now you know what the price cycle indicator is, right? And I can actually just kind of mute that and take that out, right? In fact, I'm just going to leave it on so that we can see exactly where it is on the other charts. So let's start with the technical analysis update from the higher time frame to the lower time frame. Okay, so like I said, we are these are just weekly levels that I've marked out. Okay, marked out with the W, orange levels. Okay, so this is a previous weekly close, and this was the weekly close before that. Okay, so this is the weekly close, sorry, and that is the previous week before that. Okay, so basically we're kind of stuck in between those levels there, right? So which is around about $19,300 and $21,000. Now price is wanting, you know, by going all the way down here and failing to close below this previous weekly level. So we got straight back above it again and then traveled the whole thing all the way back up. It's telling me that the momentum is to the upside and it wants to break up. Okay, again, note that this is this week that is printed the pi cycle bottom. So it does look very, very bullish, but this level here at around about $21,000 is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, another level of confluence for this excuse me. Another level of confluence to this, basically what I've got here, by looking at the VWAPs. Let me take this off the log scale. Right, I hope you guys can see that. This is basically here the 2020 VWAP close, and this was the value area high. This is a big balance area. We spent a lot of time, well, you know, we spent like a good part of 6 months in this kind of area, and this is basically the value area high of the 2020 VWAP close. Okay, now note how that level there, which I'm going to highlight here, right, it's exactly around about 21,000, well, I'm saying $21,600 here, right? But this is on Bybit. Of course, this changes slightly from chart to chart, so you know it'll be different on Coinbase, it'll be different on the index, but you get the point. Basically, that's a higher time frame key level, and at the moment it looks like for 3 consecutive weeks we have failed to break above it, and what we've broken above it, but we've failed to close above it. Okay, so a convincing close above $21,500 is key, and I think it would definitely prompt us to have a stab at these levels here, around about 25,000, perhaps even as high as 28,500, which is basically where this weekly order block is, okay, for supply. So again, 21,000, 21,500 is definitely a key level moving upwards. Okay, if I look at the if I now look at the smaller time frames, we've determined that 21k is that level, right? 21,000 is a level of resistance, 21,500. Okay, so there's plenty of confluence there. There's also a daily order block here around about $22,000, although that's mostly consumed by the previous pump here. All right, but we could not close above that, right? So $21,600, $21,000 is definitely a level of resistance, of immediate resistance. Okay, if we break above that, then you can see that the next area of consolidation, or basically the next high volume cluster, which is highlighted there, is there's one around about 27,000 and another one around about 28,500. Okay, so we could potentially retrace this whole large illiquid move all the way to previous support, which will undoubtedly now be resistance. Okay, as this is low volume area, the price will travel very quickly, just like it did here. The price will travel very quickly all the way to 28,500. So if this was indeed the bottom, then keep your eyes peeled, because the moment we close the daily or the weekly above this level here, then it's very likely that we shoot all the way to 28,500. Now, would that mean that that's the end of the bear market? No, because realistically, if you look at this objectively, it's no different from what's happening on the S&P, right? That's a high, that's a lower high yet again. And if we came all the way to this level here, 28,500, which is a previous level of support here, we could still roll over and still be in a bear market, because we're just printing low highs, right? So just be mindful of that. Don't go betting the house and the farm just because we've broken above $21,000. I'm trying to put things in perspective here on the higher time frame, just so that you know. Although yes, we have printed that, we've printed the whole what do you call it, the pi cycle indicator. So you know, of course, that this could definitely be the bottom and the best opportunity to buy Bitcoin at these prices, right? It could definitely be that, but there's no guarantee of that unless we actually break that market structure, just like I showed you on the S&P, which is breaking above $32,000. Okay, breaking above this, that would mean that we've definitely printed a higher high now. Okay, and then even if we came all the way back down here and printed a higher low, then I'd be convinced, and this is the opportunity to go long here. It might not go as low as that, but you know what I'm saying, right? We need to break this here on the daily at around about $32,000 in order to have a definite change in market structure. But looking at the sort of the smaller time frames, you can see little signs of hope, right? Not so much on the daily, because we haven't broken anything significant here. We haven't even broken the previous high here, right? But we're starting to see little signs that perhaps we could be at the bottom here, right? We're definitely close. So let's have a look at the 4-hour chart. And again, I've got that 200 exponential moving average on the 4-hour chart as well. That's been acting as resistance for quite some time. You can see it here, here, here a couple of times as well, and here at the latest attempt, right? So that's sitting at round about, it's perfect confluence actually. It's sitting very, very close to that blue line that I've put in at 21,600, which was, if you remember on the weekly chart, it was basically the value area high of 2020, right? So this is definitely a key level of interest, this area here, around about $21,600, $22,000, okay? For now, we are just kind of like, on the 4-hour chart is very clear, we've broken above this point of control, which is great, right? So this point of control is taken. And in fact, let me run through the anatomy of this. I'm just going to put the visual volume profile so that you guys can see that, right? So you can see that the price came to resistance, broke below it, came all the way back down. It bounced here on the value area low of the monthly, right? And if I was to put that value area low again, right, you've got basically, this is just a fixed range volume profile that from this high here to the most recent price action. This gives me a value area high and a value area low, okay, and it shows me all of the divots here of the volume profile, as you can see here, right? Now you can see this low volume area here has perfect confluence with the value area low. As you can see it here as well, there's a little low volume node, okay? So the price tends to, even when we're in a range, right, the price tends to go to the value area high, very close to the value area low there, back to the value area high. Here it deviated below the value area low, and it deviates, it rallies straight to the other side, but it didn't just rally. Once it reclaimed back in, right, it got stopped at the point of control, but it got accepted inside here, the value area low. It rallied back, in fact, it found resistance at the point of control. Once we rallied above that point of control, boom, it went straight to the other side, right? So now here it deviates above the value area low, comes straight back down to the other side, right? This is the value area low there, okay? What happens? The price deviates below it, not once, but twice, right? It deviates below it. Once it accepts back in, which it did here, got stopped at the monthly VWAP, came all the way back down, and where did it bounce? It bounced exactly on the value area low of this range, right? Which has perfect confluence with this low volume node here, as you can see, right? So as soon as it bounced there, that means that we've got acceptance. So this was just a deviation. That's the confirmation that this was a deviation. And here you should have gone long. And basically we're betting that it goes back to the other side of the range. Now, of course, there is plenty of resistance going on to the top of that range. And namely, there was basically this weekly and monthly VWAP clusterfuck here. There was the point of control. Now we've got the value area high of the monthly, and we've got then we've got the top of the range. There's a little low volume node here, which is basically what's causing a little bit of resistance right now. But I think we've you know, if volume profile is anything to go by, I think the whole volume cluster is this, right? So the rules of market theory, of auction market theory, is that basically when we get acceptance back inside balance, we travel to both sides of the balance. It fires straight to the other side of balance to firm up that balance, okay? So I think that we're definitely on our way to this level here. And at that level, obviously there's a higher time frame resistance. Now we'll have to observe at these levels here if we are going to break above this and continue higher, or do we just come up here and do basically what we did here, like a swing failure pattern, go higher like this, and then fall back inside of the range. If we fall back inside of the range, then we're just going to continue printing sideways, okay? So we'll just have to keep in mind that we're not completely out of the water yet, okay? Like I said already on the higher time frame, if we break above this level, then I think we've got a very good chance to going all the way up to around about 28,500, which, as you can see, is the previous month's value area high, right? And it's also perfect confluence with the previous level of support here, okay? And its previous months, or the month before that, value area low. So 28,500 will be a contention point if we do break above this resistance that we're in right now, okay? But at the moment, we're not seeing any evidence of that. We're still printing, this was a high, this is a lower high, and we've not printed anything that changed market structure just yet, okay? Although there are glimmers of hope. So I will show you those glimmers of hope by just showing you a couple of things. And basically what I wanted to show you is a parallel channel, right? So now you can see here that at this bottom here, it's showing us a pi cycle bottom there, right? But basically I've got 1, 2, 3 touches at the top there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 touches at the bottom there. That's definitely a trend, okay? So as such, put a little parallel channel now, and you can see that it looks like we're printing higher highs and higher lows. Okay, so in that sort of perspective here on the 4 hour, on a very, very short term time frame, it does look like we're making considerable constructive price action. Okay, basically higher highs and higher lows. But we've seen this before, and we still go out and take. We've seen this here, if I remember correctly. Here, this was a previous high. Then we started printing higher highs and higher lows, and then the price kind of like fell short, and we still kind of dumped, right? So don't take this as gospel that it's definitely on the lower time frames that the trend changes, but just because I'm showing you this parallel channel doesn't mean that we're definitely going to break market structure. Okay, for me, like I said, we want to be going above 22,000, above this exponential moving average here, and then see what happens at 28,500. But so, you know, on the smaller time frames it's looking bullish. On the higher time frames there's no change in market structure just yet. Okay, so for now what we need to see is basically a break above these levels here. These are key levels, right? And even if we do break above these levels here, it could potentially do a swing failure pattern, go all the way to $23,000 and still come back down again and be stuck inside of this range, right? Now this level at 21k, remember, right, we were talking about the weekly levels. I'm going to put those back on and go back onto the 4 hour chart, right? So that weekly level, the weekly close, is right here, right? And that's basically what we've just tapped at $21,000. Now we've tapped that as confluence. Let me just take the parallel channel off for a second. Where is it? Parallel channel, just there, right? So as confluence with the value area high of the monthly, you can see here that's the value area high, it's the value area low, and this is the monthly VWAP, right? So it has confluence with that value area high of the developing month. Okay, it also has confluence with the weekly level. Furthermore, if you look at the parallel channel, it has confluence with the 0.5, with the equilibrium of that level. So there's plenty of confluence there, right? There's lots of confluence that we could definitely dump there and not even go as high as 21,700 that we were looking at, right? So just keep that in mind. All right, so this is definitely where I've already started opening a short here. I'm building a short in this position, and I've definitely opened a swing short here, right? I'm prepared to close that trade and look at opening a short up here as well. Okay, and then if we break above that, then I'm not so keen on opening shorts, because unless we get up here and we start looking at the order flow and it looks like definitely wants to dump, right? But these is basically the levels that I'm looking for shorts, right? Especially at the high of this range. Now again, if we look at the value area high of this range, like I said, this is the value area high, this is the value area low. It does look like it's being respected as we have bounced here as well, right? This is definitely the level that you want to be short, right? So I've got no reason to be bullish at this level here, right? Just like I have no reason to be bullish here. But if we break above it, that's a different story. So again, levels of resistance, 21k, right? If we break above that, I'm looking at 21,700 excuse me, for levels for short. Above that, I'm not so keen on shorts anymore. Okay, like I said, there is that sort of like the parallel channel, but this is ambiguous, right? This is just painting lines on a chart. The market doesn't give a fuck about your lines, right? I'm looking at big sort of like indicators such as the VWAPs, value areas, volume, and exponential moving averages and moving averages to actually dictate if it's worth taking a short or not. And of course then on the smaller time frames I look at the order flow as well, and really just looking at market structure. So for me, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at around about 21k. I've already built a small short here. I've also got an idea for 21.8, 21.7 for another short position, and of course if I get stopped out of that and we go higher, I won't look at a short unless we go all the way up here to 22,800. Then I might consider it, but I need to see this kind of thing, like a swing failure pattern, right, where it falls back below and then starts going lower. Then I'll look at shorts. But at these highs, I'm not too keen on going short. this is definitely the range high. So $21,800 to $22,000 is the level that you should be looking at shorts. Okay, now, so that's resistance levels that we've done. Looking at support levels. Okay, so now support levels, we're looking basically at this first and foremost, at this here. Okay, this is the point of control of that big range that we've been stuck in for, you know, for God knows how many weeks, right? So 20,500 is the point of control of this whole thing, right? And of course that could cause support. There's definitely an indication that that could be support. Please note though that even though we've been to the highs here, when it came down, yes, we did bounce on that point of control once, but couldn't get back above that weekly level, and then boom, we went straight through the point of control. So the point of control is not like an amazing sort of level or anything like that, but it's definitely support until proven otherwise. Okay, so I'm looking 20,500 as a potential level of support, and then I'm looking at 20,200, which is where the monthly VWAP is, for also intraday support, right? In terms of the weekly VWAP, which is way down here at 20,000. Okay, so 20,500, 20,200, and 20,000. So on the higher time frames, you can look between 20 and 20,500. Right, for the intraday players, people that are day trading this chart, scalping it, and so on, you want to look for the monthly, the weekly VWAPs for potential levels for a bounce. Right. Now, also, you just clean this up a little bit here. More levels of support. I've got a weekly level here at around about $19,300. Which again, if I make this a little bit smaller, you guys can make sense out of it, right? So we've got this weekly level, which is basically where the pi cycle bottom printed, and this is definitely very close to the bottom of the range here with a value area low, where at 19,600 is basically that low volume node that we bounced from. Okay, so this is the bottom of the actual value area range. So 19,500, 20,000, and 20,500. That's nice and easy to remember. 500 increments, right? Nice and easy to remember. If, however, we get here, for example, right, we find resistance, or even if we go all the way up there, find resistance and start going down to these levels here. At these levels, I'm not interested in shorting unless I see the order flow telling me that it's going to be a short. Just like I'm not interested in going short up here, right? I'm not interested in going long here either, right? So I'll rephrase that. I'm not interested in shorts here unless I see in the order flow that it shows that it wants to go lower and take out this previous low, which I think it will at some point, or I hope it will anyway, because that's a poor low and I'll be going on about it for weeks. But I'm not interested in shorts down here unless the order flow shows me, just like I'm not interested in longs here unless the order flow shows me. Okay, so don't forget that this is resistance, this is support. Right, so at levels of support you go long, at levels of resistance you go short. It's as simple as that. We don't have to overcomplicate it. If, however, at these levels here it's showing me weakness, we get below that 19,600, we break below this weekly level and it's showing me weakness, then I think that we've got a very good possibility of taking out this previous low, and we're looking at 18,200 as of next weekly level, and then there's just nothing below there. Okay, just nothing below there. All right, so other than, I think there is at 16k, there's 12k, there's a weekly level there, but at 16k there's also another level there, which is basically just a previous price action volume cluster there, right, which is round about there's a low volume node here, as you can see, and then we've got a little cluster there, right? So somewhere like this is what we're looking at. So this level here is a previous area of balance, right? So we could be looking at 16,200 as potentially a level for a bounce if we were to take that, right? So let me just delete all this crap. So to take out this previous low, we could be looking at around about 16,500 as a potential level for a bottom, for a bounce, right? So that's what I'm looking at, and I've got some bids there for spot positions, okay? But I'm also happy to buy it a little bit higher if we do look like that this was the bottom and we're going to break market structure. Okay, so I'm quite happy to mitigate my risk if the price goes all the way up here, starts threatening to go up, then I'm quite happy to buy spot, and I'll probably sell a large portion of that spot position up here, right, or maybe up here at 28,500, and I'll be looking at that level for a pullback, right, especially around about here, 28,500. I've already looked at those resistance levels, but I hope this kind of helps put things in perspective for the higher time frames, because I know most of you guys are scalping the 15-minute or whatever, so, or the 5-minute chart. So in terms of higher time frames, I've already given you the levels of support, the levels of resistance. Okay, of course these levels of resistance will turn into support if we break above them, right? So just like this level here, the point of control was a level of resistance. Now we've broken above it, that's support now. So 20,500, 20,000 and 19,600, 19,500, something like that as levels of support. And then levels of resistance, we've got 21,000, we've got 21,600 or 700 or whatever, 22,000 if you like, right? So we've got 21,000 and $22,000 as the next levels of resistance. And that is that pretty much on the higher time frames. So now let's have a look if this adds up on Exocharts. Now we're looking at higher time frames. So let me just look at the volume profile here. So on the daily volume profile, you can see that we had taken out, in fact, if you look at the previous technical analysis update, I did go over this a little bit. And we looked basically at this point of control that was sticking out like a sore thumb. We took that. We went to the downside and we took that. Once we reclaimed it, we also left a naked point of control on this profile here, right? And we took that as well. Then we had two naked points of control sticking out above like this, right? Which I also highlighted. And of course, what did we do? We came all the way up and we took that almost to the dollar, right? Now, we've rallied a little bit above it, but we've gotten back below this level here. So is this a signal for a short? Potentially, right? So the levels that you want to be looking for right now are this naked point of control here, around about 19,750. Now, if we were to come all the way back down to the bottom of that range, 19,750 does look tasty, right? Does look like it's a naked point of control, and it's also at the bottom of that range, which would also give us that pullback to do the higher highs and the lower highs and higher lows and so on, right? Now, the other naked point of control that we've got is way up here, 23,640, okay? Now, that is kind of a little bit out of the premise of this technical analysis, just because going there would imply that we've broken above 22K and therefore we're bullish, so potentially we could go a little bit higher and take out these naked points of control as well, okay? But for the sake of this technical analysis that we're looking at, basically we are at the range highs, right? We're looking at 22,000, 21,800, something like that as potentially the next target, and then kind of rolling over, right? I mean, of course there's a possibility, this is Bitcoin, nothing is impossible, that we go all the way up there, threaten to come down, and then just take out that naked point of control and still come down, right? But, you know, that's a far-fetched one, as that is miles away at 23,600. I think potentially this one here at 19,750 is the more interesting one. And of course, if we then find weakness at the bottom of this range, right, then we could potentially come to those levels. We'll look at that, 16,800, and we've even got one here at 15,360 naked points of control. Those are as far away from price as basically this one. So we're right in the middle here. The closest naked point of control, like I said, is 19,800. So that's the volume profile, and there's not really much else to be said about that. In terms of the market profile for the day, now we've got a naked point of control above us here at 21,300. Okay, this is a volume point of control that we've not taken here. And you can see that we've also left that naked point of control at 19,700. Interestingly enough, we've got a daily VWAP close that has not been taken, even though we got very close, that didn't get taken. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the price take that out at $21,060, maybe even go as far as 21,300, which is where that naked point of control is, and then just roll over, okay? Now let me just put this in context. And I already explained everything, the simplified version on the candlesticks, but I'm going to go over the market profile here just for a second. Now, this that you see here is a composite profile, right? So this is 2 days merged together. I've put it as a balance area, so we've got a value area high, we've got a value area low. If the price does take out that daily volume, daily VWAP, right, that's not been tapped, and that naked point of control as well, the key level of resistance is round about here, $21,500. Okay, this is basically the 2-day composite value area low. If we get acceptance inside of that, then that's great. That means that we go to the other side of it at around about 22K. But this level here, around about 21,400, 21,500, is going to be resistance. So even if we see a little spike up, don't think that we're going to go straight up. We could definitely just come all the way back down again and go and test and take out this naked point of control down here. So just keep that in mind, right? So that's sitting at around about $21,400. Now, on the same coin, we've got also a 2-day, this is actually a 3-day composite value right here, right? With the height of that sitting at around about $19,500. Again, in terms of confluence, we do have another daily VWAP close that has not been tapped, a naked VWAP close just right here. But for me, more importantly, those are levels down here, are levels that we could potentially, if we break below this, what I'm saying is, I'll start this again, right? So if we come all the way up here and take out these levels here, this level here is going to be definitely resistance, right about 21,400. Break above that, and I think we travel inside of this. We go to the other side of it at around about 21,900. The same situation is if we have a pullback here, right? Even if we go all the way up there, take out those levels, right? Find resistance here, start coming down, punishing these late longs. The level that I'm interested in is this one here. Look at the delta negative on that, right? Now, this is an interesting level because not only are there loads of trapped shorts down there, so trapped sellers down here, right? It's round about where that low volume area is, 19,600. That's the bottom of that range that we were looking at on the candlesticks, right? And we've got a naked point of control, a VWAP close, and the low volume node. So 19,600 is still a very interesting level for us to go long, right? Additionally, and very close to it, we've got this 3-day composite value area, right? So look at that daily VWAP close, that naked daily VWAP close is right on the edge of that, right? And we've got a time-based naked point of control there as well, right? But we don't pay too much attention to those. We tend to look at volume, right? But if we find acceptance below this, meaning not just a wick and then straight back up again, I mean actually finding ourselves below here and then finding that this is resistance and we cannot get back above it, all right? So if we find ourselves below 19,400, then I think that we're going to be rotational between these two levels here, right, inside this composite area, and we'll find balance in here. Just like I said, if we break above this and we close above it convincingly, then we'll find balance here. So these are two balance areas that I'm interested in, and everything else inside it is noise. Okay, but it's okay for the intraday traders and for looking at sort of like short scalps and everything like that. But these are the levels that I'm interested in. Now, of course, breaking below this level here, 18,900, will show significant weakness, right? Basically an imbalance to the downside. And then, of course, I'll be looking at that pull low there to get taken out, right? As you can see, there's no excess on that, right? And because there is no excess on that, that's an anomaly, and as such, usually they tend to get corrected. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens around about $19,600 level. Will we bounce and leave that poor low behind, which is possible, right? We've left some poor highs behind all the way up here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we've left some poor highs here. I think we've even left some at the top, I believe. Yeah, we've left that poor high right at the top there, right? So it's not the end of the world that we've got a poor low there, okay? And we could definitely just bounce here and continue much higher, right? But if we get acceptance back inside of this consolidation area here, right, this 3-day composite value, right, and then start losing 19k, then I think we take that up and we start looking at 16k. But for now, as I can, like I'm saying, around about 21,800, 22,000 is definitely resistance. 19,600 is an important level of support, right? So inside yesterday's profile, you can see that basically we opened outside of it. For the intraday plays as well, we're going to print the screen again. There's the 80% chance that if we find ourselves below this level here, right, the previous day value area high, there's 80% chance that we go as travel to the other side, right? 80%. I didn't say 100%. It's an 80% chance, right? We've also got VWAP closes there. We've got a monthly VWAP. We've got the weekly VWAP, and we've got that naked point of control there as well. So that we could just kind of like do a slow bleed, or actually just fucking go straight back down onto it. But either way, the key thing is that if we lose this today's value, right, and we get below the previous day value area high, then there is a chance that we go all the way down there. And like I said on yesterday's profile, you can see that we've got a lot of trapped shorts all the way down here, 19,600. This was basically, if I expand that as well, this is basically where everybody was short down here, 19,600, right? So remove that. So basically the price came, we kind of rallied up. We tried to get inside of the previous day's balance. We couldn't. Came all the way back down again. We bounced here, and everybody that was short here got trapped. And this is basically a short squeeze, right? So let me just reset that so you guys can see. And you can tell that it's a short squeeze very simply by looking at the open interest, right? So a lot of this, expand the clusters, so a lot of this was kind of shorts here, right? And then basically the open interest shows you a lot of positions closing. Even though we were rallying, look at the open interest going down. This is basically all the shorts covering, right? So it's a short covering rally. It's basically a short squeeze, right? There's not loads of new long positions opening, not like here, for example, or here, right? It's basically from round about here. Yes, there was a few new positions opening, right? New longs perhaps, but you can see that basically the open interest is just going sideways and perhaps even further down, right? So that just shows you that that's a short squeeze. And as such, I'm going to reset that again. As such, it left a lot of short trap shorts down here. So if the price finds itself all the way down here and take out that naked point of control, I expect this to be support, because these guys cannot wait to get out of break even. All right, so bear that in mind. Round about $19,700, $19,600. Okay, can go a little bit lower, but we want to see if so it wants to be a quick wick and straight back up again, right? So that's basically what we're looking for support. Levels of resistance, like I said, it's 21,300, 21,800, and then eventually $22,000, which is where basically all of these trapped longs, all of these longs and all of these apes got trapped, right? So we could potentially go all the way up there and then just still roll over. So just keep that in mind. It's already an hour long, so I think I've spent enough time on Bitcoin. So let's just move on to Ethereum. I think everybody's clear. I've given you higher time frame, lower time frame levels, support and resistance levels, so I hope that is satisfactory. I will have another TA update for you guys on Monday, but I just wanted to set you right for the weekend. And also I've been a little bit busy this week, so I haven't been able to do a decent technical analysis with a top-down approach for quite some time, and I thought I'd do that today as I've got a little bit more time. So with that out of the way, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat here on YouTube, and I will be more than happy to answer them as we move on. So let's move on to Ethereum, and I'm just going to put this as a no sync in the layout. So let's move on to Ethereum here. I'm going to take the stalker out, and What's going on? Ah, okay. Looking at the volume profile here, I'm going to put the balance areas again, and again, nothing much has changed. We're inside of this balance area here, right? If you guys are new and you don't know why I'm talking about balance, I'm talking about these volume profile, the edges of each volume profile. Okay, that's basically what the rectangle shows, right? So the top of the rectangle is the top edge of this volume profile here, and the bottom one is the bottom edge, of course, of that same profile, right? So basically all I've done is I've divided each of these high volume clusters into really little rectangles so that you guys know where the balance areas are, right? So quite simple, really. So where we are now on the weekly, it's very simply, we did break above this weekly level. Okay, that's great. So that's very bullish for Ethereum, and Ethereum does seem to be outperforming Bitcoin right now. Okay, you can see here that we've got a weekly close at this level here, which is basically right on the edge of this balance area, right? Which is basically where we've got the low volume node. That's sitting at around about $1,400. Okay, so $1,400 as resistance, and we've also got $1,000 as support. So 1,400 as resistance, $1,000 as support, or 971. Okay, of course we could go all the way up here and even test this level here around about $1,500. Okay, that's the previous balance area, right? You can see that there's a gap there, the imbalance area. So actually it doesn't start, that balance area doesn't start until there. So these are just kind of an approximation. Don't get fixated with the numbers, right? It's not $1,400 or nothing. It's $1,500, right? That's resistance. This level here, around about $1,000, 975, and 796 or $800 is support until proven otherwise. Okay, so even if we were to lose this level, just like we did here, right? Even if we were to lose this level, the important key level is this level here, right? This is where we need to bounce, right? And repel us and reject us from that level, around about $800. Okay, so again, we're still kind of inside a balance. Nothing really has changed in terms of market structure on the Ethereum weekly chart. Okay, you can see that basically this previous weekly level here has now been taken out, right? But this week's not finished yet. We could still finish below and have one of these wicks. So we'll have to wait for Sunday or Monday to see where we are right now. Okay, of course we could be well on our way to $1,500, but at the moment we're just in the middle of the balance area, right? You know, it's not favorable to take a trade here. It would be more favorable, at least on the higher time frames, it'd be more favorable to take a trade here, or these two levels there, right? So at the moment, like I said, just to simplify things, $1,000 as support, $1,500 as resistance on the higher time frames, right? So if we look at the lower time frames here, we just take the balance levels off. On the daily, you can see that there's no change in market structure either. We're still very much inside the range, right? You can see here, this is the range high, this is the range low. We're still inside that fucking range. There's no change in market structure. Okay, ideally what we want to see is we want to break above these highs, right, and maybe test that $1,500, and then we'll have to wait and see what the reaction is back inside of the range here, right? If it accepts, if it does do that, right, and it bounces here, then that's definitely a long position, and I think we're going to be on our way to around about $1,700. However, if the price does accept back inside of this range again, then, and especially if you cannot get back above this top here, that's a short signal, and I think we're going to go and test these lows again, back inside the range. Basically, acceptance back inside the range means we go to the other side of it. Okay, so that's basically what we're seeing on the daily. There's no change in market structure. We're still kind of range bound. On the 4-hour chart, this is even more evident. Here on Ethereum versus USD. I'm just going to where's the volume? The VWAP. Let's take the VWAP off for a second, right? Just to simplify things. You can see that basically this was the top of the range, this was the bottom of the range. It formed that range. We deviated here. Once we deviate outside of the range, went straight to the other side of it. Here we deviated as well, went straight to the other side. Yet another deviation, went straight to the other side. And look how accurate it is. We're just here, we're kind of threatening to go up. What does it do? Comes down, tests that range, goes straight back up. It's a beautiful range to be trading on Ethereum, right? And now we're getting very, very close to the top of it, as you can see here, right? Now we've got that 200 exponential moving average again, right? The stalker, and it's basically perfect confluence with the top of the range there. It's got a low volume area here, low volume node just above us, right? So we've got the 200 exponential, and of course if I put the VWAPs back on, it's very close to the previous month close, VWAP close here, right? So we could potentially go all the way up to here, threaten that it's going to fall down, do a swing failure pattern, and then still fall back inside of the range, right? So that's sitting at right about $1,300. So just be aware of that. However, like I said, Ethereum will always, I always say this, will always be pushed around by Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going down, Ethereum will go down. If Bitcoin's going up, Ethereum will go up as well, right? So this is the range high, and at these levels you shouldn't be thinking about going long. Here you should be thinking about going short, right? Targeting the midpoint here, which is basically where the low volume area is, right? And potentially even the bottom of the range, especially if we have a deviation to the upside like this, and then accept back inside the range, right? Look at how it happened here. Deviated above, threatened to come down, but then it goes all the way up there again and could not get back above this, right? As soon as it doesn't get back above it, that's a short signal, and boom, it starts breaking down and it goes all the way to the other side. Okay, so the key thing is, does it break above? And if it breaks above, can it stay above it? If it cannot stay above it and gets back inside of the range again, meaning below this 200, right, then that's a short signal. If, however, it does break above it and it looks like it wants to go up, then I wouldn't fucking short it, just, you know, unless the order flow tells me that this level here is going to be resistance. But, you know, low volume area, just like on Bitcoin, right? Low volume area all the way to $1,700, right? So just like the price traveled very quickly through here, it will do exactly the same going up. It will be very, very quick to get to $1,700, all right, for a short squeeze, if it so happens, right? But again, this level here is a level of resistance, right about $1,280, $1,300, okay? So that's basically where we're looking. That's like the $22,000 level for Bitcoin is basically our $1,300 level here on Ethereum. Okay, so that's the levels of resistance. Levels of support, like I said, we do have the value area high of the developing month's VWAP, which has perfect confluence here with this low volume area, right about 1180. Then we've also got the monthly VWAP and the midpoint or the equilibrium of this range at around about 1120. And then of course we've got the value area low and the previous month's value area low at the bottom of the range at around about $1,000. Okay, so $1,000 for support. Sorry, 1,000, 1,150, and $1,200 as support, right, on the shorter time frames. And in terms of resistance, we've got $1,300 as resistance, okay, and potentially even if we break above, then we're looking at $1,500, $1,600, maybe even $1,700 as the next levels of resistance, right? Previous support. When it breaks down, it becomes resistance. As you can see, it's a high volume cluster there, right? So the edge of this high volume cluster is what I want to look at for levels of resistance. Okay, but first and foremost, we have to break above this. This is resistance until proven otherwise. All right, so that's basically it for Ethereum versus USD. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see. It only is a deviation if we accept back inside the range. Please remember that, right? So if this is the range, goes back above, and then comes back inside, then yes, this is definitely a short here, right? But if it doesn't do that, if it breaks above it and comes back, tests it, but does not get back inside of the range and it gets rejected there, that's a fucking long. That's a long position and you'll be targeting much higher. Okay, so it's the same for Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind, all right? This range is important. We've been in this range for fucking weeks now, and getting accepted back inside is bearish. Getting above it and then staying above it is very bullish. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that's basically it for Ethereum as well. On the smaller time frames, let's have a look at Exocharts and see if we can spot anything significant on the market profile. let's have a look at the volume profile first. On the daily volume profile, we did leave a couple of naked points of control down here. One at 1,038 and the other one at $1,080. Okay, so 1038 or 1040, 1080, two levels of interest if we start going down. All right. So again, we've got the range high here at 1269. We've got the range low around about 985, 990. Now, if we break above it, we've got a naked point of control here at 1460. And more or less around about the same distance, we've got another naked point of control all the way down here at $770, 768 to be precise, right? But at the moment, you can see that these levels kind of get taken out all the time, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see these two levels here, they are taken around about 1,037 and 1,081. And then depending on the strength or weakness at these lows here is where I'll decide if I go long or not. Of course, I'll be more interested in longs down here than shorts, but if we break below it and we start going lower, then of course I might consider a short position as well. Just have to look at the order flow and see how that pans out. Now, in terms of the market profile here on Ethereum, let's have a quick look. Okay, we got some single prints here around about $1,400. Okay, we've got a poor high here at 1,275. So there's definitely a poor high here that could get taken out before we go lower, right? And today is also a poor high at the moment. That high is not a very, it's a weak high, right? So here are those naked points of control. We've got a time-based one and a couple of volume-based ones, right? The volume-based ones are based in blue, right? And we've got another naked point of control here as well on the market profile at $960. So we've got some anomalies to the downside, and you know, also on Bitcoin is the same thing. Even though I didn't highlight it, there are plenty of poor lows. There's a poor low here, right? And there's a poor low here on this profile that we could yet see. Okay, but of course, if not, if we just go straight up, then that level, those levels of resistance are interesting nonetheless, right? So we've got all the way to $1,700. We've got plenty of single prints that we could fill, and even a naked point of control, like I said, at around about $1,500, 1,460 or whatever, right? So that's basically it for Ethereum USD anyway. So let's move on to Ethereum BTC, and we start here on Ethereum BTC just by looking. I'll take the stalker off. And I'm just looking here at the 2021 VWAP close. And this is basically, we could not close above that. All right, so that's like the point of control of the 2021 area, right? And it basically it's been acting as support, right? If I put the stalker back on, which is like, if you remember, is the 200 exponential moving average, you can see that that acted as supported as support as well. Okay, so now we're rallying from there. We've broken market structure here on the weekly, right? And it does look like we are on our way to the next level, which is around about 65,000 sats. The reason I point that level out is because, as you can see, it's the developing value area low of the current year's VWAP. So I'm looking at around about 65,000 sats for the next level of resistance, right? 64,000 sats. Of course, if we break above that as well, then we've got this one here around about 69,000 sats, which is developing years VWAP as well. And this is definitely a key level. Now, I had a trend line all the way back from, let me take this off a second, take out these brush marks. This is all the way back from June 2021, and we were above this trend line for quite some time until we broke down from it. Okay, and of course this is going to be resistance moving forward. So even if we do break above 65,000 sats and we go all the way to 69,000 sats, then we've still got a significant level of resistance here, which is 75,000 sats. The reason for that is also the value area high of the developing years VWAP. Is of course the underside of that trend line, which would be key to recover it, and yeah, and it's right where this weekly order block is, which is basically the origin of this move down to the downside. Okay, so there's going to be supply there, of course, right? So even though it does look very bullish, and we've kind of broken back inside of this high volume cluster, which would indicate that we're basically on our way to this level here, to the other side of it, there's going to be plenty of resistance moving forward, especially this level here at 65,000 sats, right? and also that yearly VWAP there, okay, which is yet another low volume area here at 70,000 sats. So those are basically the levels of resistance. If for some reason everything starts to dump again and we go back down again, then this is an important level of support at around about 53,000 sats, okay. And then if we break down from that, right, let's put the stalker back on. In fact, it's here, trend stalker. If we break back below this level here, then I'm afraid it's a very long way all the way to 45,000 sats, and potentially lower all the way down here to 37,000 sats. Okay, so those are like the most significant levels of support and resistance, even though I've got other levels here based on volume. And I will change a few of the colors because we've started breaking them. Okay, so I'll put that as green now. Right, so in green are the levels of support, in red are levels of resistance. Okay, and basically you can see that I'm just going with edges of high volume clusters. All right, so that's basically all it is, that HVEs, okay, and they tend to be pretty damn accurate, as you can see here, and in a few more examples, like here for example, support, 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 and then we broke down below it. So this one here is going to be an interesting level for resistance for sure, because it's the low volume area. It's a previous area of support here. If the price does get all the way up there, then I think that's a decent short, and I think that's basically an inflection point for Ethereum versus BTC. All right, so I hope that is clear. Or you guys can pause the video in a minute. I'll put the timestamps on and you can like copy these levels if you want, but I think I've highlighted most of the higher time frame levels of support and resistance. On the daily, let's have a look and see if we change market structure on Ethereum versus BTC. Not really. Yeah, we're printing higher lows, that's great, but we're not printed a higher high just yet. Okay, so we've got this high here and this high here and even these ones here, and we've not broken that just yet. Okay, so there's no reason to be extremely excited just yet. Of course, if we break above this one, right, get above the quarterly VWAP, so this is the developing quarterly VWAP here, right? Well, sorry, this is the previous month's developing quarterly VWAP, and of course, you know, we're all the, you know, we're only like sort of like 2 weeks in to this quarter, so I wouldn't pay much significance to this quarterly VWAP. But this one here was the last 3 months. This is the last VWAP close here. So we're looking at this level here, 64,000 sats as a contention point, if you like. That would mean that if we go all the way up here, for example, right, that would mean that we've broken market structure on the daily at least, because we've printed a higher high and we've been printing higher lows. So then all we need to do is print yet another higher low to confirm that we're doing constructive price action now and that we're going much higher. Okay, so that's on the sort of like on the daily time frame and on the lower time frames, and you can see that basically we're starting to see some glimmers of hope where most of the spikes in volume come from buying candles. Okay, so on yet more shorter time frames yet. Okay, let's have a look at this one here on the 4 hour. In the 4 hour, it does look like we're already on the top of the range, right? So if this was the range high, right, we've bounced here on the equilibrium, came back to range high, bounced yet again on equilibrium, which is the midpoint here, right? And I can even argue that this is yet another range, so we can make this a little bit lower like this, right? But either way, we're at the top of the range here, and you can see that this is a previous area of consolidation, previous level of support, so that's why it's acting as resistance, also signaled by this low volume node here, 59,000 sats. So going forward, unless we break above these levels here, break above that high, like I said, 64,000 sats, right? So unless we break above that, there's no change in market structure. So at these levels, we could potentially be going lower and going all the way back down to the stalker, or perhaps even equilibrium of this range, okay? And by the stalker, I mean the 200 exponential moving average. It's worth noting that we did break down the 4 hour now. So in terms of trend, that's kind of like a good change in trend. Although we did break above it, faked out a head fake, and then go back below it again. So we could definitely do that again. But you can see that this one, the trend tends to be, we've been below it for quite some time, and now we are above it. So even if the price comes all the way down here, we could definitely rally again. So on the lower time frames, it's kind of unclear of where we are, where we're basically at the top of the range here, but it looks like we've got plenty of momentum. So if we get accepted back inside of this range here, just do that. Same concept applies, right? If we get accepted back inside of this range again, then we could potentially be going all the way back down there. If we stay above here, just like it shows there, right? It does look like we broke above it, came back down, and now we're all the way back up there again. So it does look like it wants to rally up. So Ethereum could well continue to outperform Bitcoin in the near future, right? This guy here is absolutely gutted that he sold Ethereum, because he sold right here at the bottom. So don't be that guy. At the bottom you want to be going long, at the top you want to be going short. All right, it's quite simple. So that's 1 hour and 50 minutes just to do Ethereum, Bitcoin, and the overview. So with that said out of the way, let's move on to the FODL trading pairs. Okay, this is basically all of the lending coins on the the coins on the lending markets and the DeFi coins. And again, I just want to highlight that it really doesn't matter what TA I do on the DeFi coins, because it's all dictated by Bitcoin, right? So it doesn't matter what TA I do. If Bitcoin decides to dump, it will drag everything down with it, with very few exceptions. And if Bitcoin decides to go up, even though I think that fucking Binance coin is going down or whatever, it really doesn't matter. If Bitcoin goes up, it will drag everything up with it. So just keep that in mind, right? So this is a little bit kind of like subjective, the technical analysis on these altcoins, okay? They're all being dragged around by Bitcoin. It's as simple as that, with very few exceptions. So with that out of the way, that's like a disclaimer. Let's just move on. And we start here with a FODL token, right? So FODL versus USDT on OkEx, we're starting to see a little bit of sideways price action. That's a good sign, right? There's no change in market structure yet, so I'm afraid there's no bullish technical analysis from me just yet, okay? But I want to see this at least on the 4 hour here. I want to see this start breaking market structure, okay? But we are seeing signs of accumulation here. This is on OkEx. This is FODL versus USDT, and you can see these little spikes in volume. So somebody is accumulating FODL, most certainly, right? So you know, you can see these little spikes already, right? So basically a large liquid move. But I want to see basically regaining some of these levels. Previous level of support, we got below it, and now we reclaim it. Now that's bullish, okay? Now, if we look at this on the daily chart, and I've highlighted this before, I'm just going to take some of these brush marks off. I've highlighted this before, that if you look at this, I mean, this is a larger liquid move to the downside here, right? It's just that's a shit move, but let me just grab perhaps a rectangle would be easier to represent it. This whole thing here is largely a liquid, and what that means is that the price will travel very quickly through there, because there was no previous volume there. There was no previous price action. So just in the same way, because it's a very thin move, a very liquid move, if we manage to reclaim this level here in red, right, which is run about 0.0248, right, if we break above this, which is also the developing value area low, as you can see here, developing value area low of the yearly VWAP, right, if we break above this level here, then we will travel very, very quickly through this, like butter on a summer's day. And this will be definitely the level of resistance, right? So let me just take these levels out, just to make it a little bit clearer. Significant levels of resistance for me are this one here, and it'll be very quickly to travel through there. So if I change market structure, if I see a change in market structure, I'll be definitely happy to buy this, because this move, which should be a very quick move, is 137%, right? With a little bit of leverage on top, then you can really make some spectacular gains just from longing FODL. And basically this is the key level that you want to trade at, okay? So if we break above this level, then I think it'd be very quick to get to this level here, right? In terms of support, so that's the two key resistance levels. In terms of support, well, we are pretty much at all-time lows here, right? So there's no frame of reference in terms of price action. So we just have to go with big round numbers, and I've got 0.015, 0.001, and so on, right? So we've got like it's even less than. So it's basically we've got it's not even 15 cents. It's 1.5 cents, 1 cent, and 0.5 cents. Just as the potential levels of support, just because we're going with big round numbers because there's no frame of reference here. But this is encouraging. I'm liking to see this. I'm starting to see some buys here. I'm starting to see the price curling up and losing that downward momentum. So that's definitely encouraging for FODL versus USDT. Moving on to FODL versus USDC. This is on sushiswap. And again, we're seeing exactly the same thing. We're not seeing the levels of volume that we witnessed from OkEx, but here on sushiswap we're starting to see a little bit of a sideways price action here. I'm going to delete this level here, right? So again, big round numbers are just the levels of support are just big round numbers. Okay, I'm starting to see a little bit of a change in momentum, and we're also starting to see a few little buys here. Nothing is significant in terms of accumulation, not like big little spikes like this that we saw on OkEx, but we're starting to see little signs of accumulation here. And now this is basically a little low level support here, previous level of support here. If we break above this, that's constructive, and then we need to break above this level here. Okay, if we can break above this level here and perhaps even take out this high here, right, which is this whole little volume cluster there. I'm going to put a little line across there. I'm going to put it as red. Okay, if we break above this level here, then I think we've got a very good chance of breaking through all of these levels here. This one I'm not convinced. Well, I'm basically just looking at the high volume clusters here. So that's basically what I'm seeing. Okay, so if we go break above this, then that's definitely a change in market dynamics and market structure, and I'll be looking at these levels to take profit, but ultimately I'll be targeting this level here at around about 6 cents. Okay, and you know, again, just even if we don't enter here, right, I mean from here is around about 200% pump, right? But even if we were to go just from here upon confirmation, that's still 130%. That's a nice big trade here on FODL versus USDC. So again, we want to see a change in market structure before I trade that. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do with your money. I'm merely just explaining to you how I would trade this if I was to trade it. Okay, so just please keep that in mind. And support levels are basically just big round numbers. Okay, so moving on, I'll move on to FODL versus ETH. And FODL versus ETH. FODL is looking weak versus ETH just because ETH is looking so strong. And you can see that we are basically at all-time lows. Okay, this is the genesis. This is basically when the platform first got listed on sushiswap here, right? So basically we're right there at support, right? So we're basically on the last leg here. And again, we just have to go with big round numbers if we fall down from there. There's no change in market structure. This is a previous level of support. We bounced there, came back down, tested it, confirmed that is resistance, so naturally we're going lower. Okay, so for me a key change in market structure is breaking above this high here, right? If we can break above this here, then again we'll be looking at this as the next level of resistance here. Low volume area means we will travel very quickly through that. So again, the very good opportunity, and again the same scenario that I'm looking on FODL versus USDC and versus USDT, right? So it's basically just larger liquid candle here, larger liquid candle that basically is acceleration, and the price will be very quickly to accelerate to the top there. So that I'm sure of. But so moving on to Binance, BNB versus USD. Now, considering how much of a pump we've seen on Bitcoin and Ethereum, I'm quite surprised not to see this do a little bit better. However, it is what it is, right? We're very close to the top of the range. This is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay. Now I know that I've got a much bigger range here, right? But this has been acting as resistance, and so I do think that this is actually two little ranges inside one big range, if that makes any sense. Okay, so we're looking at those three levels there. So we've got two ranges, sorry, inside one big range, if that makes any sense. Okay, if we break above this level here, the midpoint, if you like, then we're very likely to go all the way up to here and find resistance there. Okay, that's basically almost guaranteed because that's the value area low of the developing years VWAP. As you can see here, sorry, my mouse is playing up. So this is the developing value area low of the yearly VWAP. Okay, and of course it's the edge of a high volume cluster, which is composed of this here, and it's also the 2021 VWAP close. So this is an important level, $288. Okay, break above that and I think we're definitely going up to the yearly VWAP and perhaps even higher and try to get acceptance inside of this high volume cluster, but 288 will remain the very strong level of resistance that we're looking for. For now, $247, $250 is a big round number, and that's perhaps why we're seeing a little bit of resistance there. Okay, so $200 for support, $250 for resistance. If we break above $200, $287 is a significant level of resistance to break. Okay, Binance versus BTC. In fact, no, let's do it versus ETH because ETH is outperforming Bitcoin, so I might as well chart this versus Ethereum. So again, we tried to get acceptance inside of this range here, right, between the yellow line there and the red line. Of course, we couldn't get that, right? So Binance is kind of like, BNB is kind of looking a little bit weak versus Ethereum. So at the moment, it does look like we're stuck inside of this range. So basically, this here is resistance, and this here is support, right? So we've got 2000 way as resistance and 1691 as support. Okay, do note that this is a value area high of the developing years VWAP. Okay, and this is the previous value area high. So we could just form a smaller range here, but for now, I'm going to leave it as such because this is a previous level of resistance, resistance, and now should act as support. So I'm looking at that level there as instead. Okay, so this is support, this is resistance until proven otherwise. If we break above this one, then we're looking at 2,384 as the next level of resistance. Okay, you can see that this is interesting. We're starting to see significant accumulation in some of the coins. That's why I've put the volume indicator back on so that we can start looking at this again. Okay, but yeah, that's basically resistance, this is support, and if we break above it, this is the next level of resistance. If we break below it, then the yearly VWAP here will be the next level of support. AAVE versus USD on the daily chart here. Interesting, so we finally broke below this previous range. So let's just delete all this. So this was a significant level of resistance as we had been rejected there so many times, right? So this is support here, here we got rejected, and here we got rejected, but now we've broken above it convincingly as well. Okay, so the next level of resistance is this one here, right? So this arrow here is the next range now, right? So this is support, this is resistance until proven otherwise. Break above that, then this will be the next level of resistance for sure, because that's the yearly VWAP, right? So we're looking at $136. But for now, $113 as resistance, $76 as support. If we break below this one, then we go back to $50. Okay, but if we stay above that, and I think we will because that's the value area low of the developing years VWAP. Okay, so significant level there. I think if we can stay above that, then I think we just range here like this for now. Okay, even if there's a deviation to the upside and test that yearly VWAP, we could potentially come all the way back down again and just range inside of here. So that's what I'm seeing on AAVE versus USD. I could be wrong, of course, but that's basically what the chart is telling me. This is resistance, this here is support until proven otherwise. Okay, so that's AAVE versus USD. AAVE versus ETH. Interesting. So just I might just delete a lot of this. Okay. All right. So what I'm looking at is the fact that we've just broken above the value area high of the developing years VWAP. So that should be a decent level of support. Okay. If not, then this one will be even better because it's the yearly VWAP. Okay. But that would mean that we're inside of this. We'll be rotational back inside of this again. Okay. So that's a range that we don't want to be going down to, because that means we'll be stuck there for a while. So the important thing is that this was a previous level of resistance, as you can see here. We've broken above it, came down, confirmed that as support. So for me, that's a confirmation. I'll put that as green now. Okay, so that's support. That's support. This here should be resistance, even though we've just deviated above. Okay, so let's just, this is like, you know, on the 4-hour chart, it'll be more visible. You can see we've broken above it, came down, and now it looks like we want to either confirm it as support or get below it. So that's key for AAVE versus USD. Okay, so sorry, AAVE versus ETH. If we break below 750 way, then I believe that we're going all the way back down to here. Meaning if we break below here, that means that we go all the way back down to here, right? If we stay above and we bounce here, then I think we've got to mark some new levels of resistance, which I will do now. I think the levels of resistance are already there actually. So I'm just going to take this VWAP off a second, just to simplify things. So like I said, this is a, you know, very thin level here, right? Larger liquid, you know, very low volume, larger liquid move. So if we do accept above this level here, which I will now change it to orange because it's not green, it's not been confirmed yet. So I'm just going to put it as orange. If we can accept above here, then I think we've got a very good chance of going all the way up to around about 1,000 way, right? So we'll be forming a range in here. That's definitely going to be resistance there. And previous level of resistance should turn into support, okay, when we break above it. So we could be seeing here the beginning of what we could be seeing here basically the beginning of a new range and a break in market structure here with the previous highs. But of course we could also break back below it, get accepted back inside the range, and continue trading inside of this little range. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so that's a very interesting level where we are in right now on AAVE versus ETH. So let's just see how this plays out. Okay, so that's 750 way. Okay, 0.0750 ETH. Moving on to compound versus USD. We're still struggling with levels, okay, with this previous level of resistance, right? Previous level of support is now turned resistance, right? So we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. It does look like we've cleared this one, but there's no clear change in market dynamics. Okay, this is the real level of resistance is run about here, 60 cents, right? You know, 60 cents is basically resistance until proven otherwise. It's a low volume node as well. If we do break above it, then that means we got accepted back inside of this range, and we'll do something like this. I apologize for that. That's my mouse being stupid. So we'll be then looking at this level here, and we'll be trading inside of that, right? So something like this. But for now, this is resistance until proven otherwise. And this level here has been acting as support at $44, right? But ultimately, this is the significant level of support, okay? So this here would be the next range, in my personal opinion. I think if we see a pullback on Bitcoin and pullback on the whole of crypto, I think this is where we're going to, right there, $36, okay, on that low volume node. So that's compound versus USD. At the moment, we're struggling at resistance. This level here, I'll put it as orange. It's not confirmed as support yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Tiny little mini range inside of that there, right? So between those two lines there, as you can see, we did a little consolidation there, but ultimately it's just because we couldn't get back above that level there. So at the moment here, it does look like we've just got rejected from this level here. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens at this previous level of resistance. Will it hold as support, or will we go back down again? If we go back down again, like I said, it's very much the same thing on every coin, right? That's acceptance, and that means that we're going to go lower. All right. If it comes all the way here and bounces, that's a sign of strength. And then providing that we get above this, then it's clear to go all the way up. Okay. So that's basically what we're looking for in terms of trading. Okay. So at the moment, $60 is resistance, and support, consider support is around about $40, $36, something like that. Okay. Compound versus ETH, a little bit more complex here. Let me just delete some of these brush marks. Okay, so again, this is a significant level of resistance, this is a significant level of support. Well, it's an unconfirmed level of support. I wouldn't say it's significant, but it's an unconfirmed level of support here. So let me just adjust it slightly like this. Right, let's just see. This is a previous, as you can see here, previous level of resistance here. Resistance, we broke above it, okay, but ultimately the support is way down here. Right, so let's just wait and see. This yellow line could be a preliminary level of support, but if we break down, then these are the levels that you want to be looking for, okay? And ultimately, this here is the range. Right, so we'll just have to wait and see if this level, I'm going to make it a little bit darker, so it's not as prominent. There you go. We'll have to wait and see if this is definitely a break in market structure or not, okay? Break in market structure means that we would definitely look at how, there was no real range there, right? Previous level of support and to resistance, but there was no real range there. So ultimately, we want to be breaking above this, right? Previous level of support. If we break above that, then these levels here are the next levels of resistance. Okay, but at the moment, it does look like we're getting rejected there. So we could be going all the way down here to round about 370 way. Moving on to BAT versus USD. Okay, BAT versus USD, we kind of stuck in this little range here. That's basically where the arrow is. Nothing much has changed. We've kind of we kind of deviated above, came here, confirmed it as resistance. In fact, that's why I put the cross there. Right, little cross there. We got rejected there, so I said that we're definitely going to go down here and put an arrow there, and that's exactly where we are. I haven't changed this since when did I last do a technical analysis update for the coins? I think it was on Monday. So nothing much has changed other than the fact that we came back to support, and now we're in the middle. So you have to wait for this level of resistance to hit again if you want to go short, and at these levels down here you want to be going long. Okay, so basically we're still range trading, and we'll be going like this sideways until proven otherwise. Okay, until either way, either one breaks. Okay, so this could be support that breaks, and if it does, we go down here. If it's resistance that breaks, we go all the way up here, right about 56 cents. Resistance right now is 44 cents. Support is 35 cents. Okay, so let's say 35, 45. Break above that, 55 will be the next level of resistance. Break below that, 25 will be the next level of support. BAT versus ETH. Interesting. So this level was yellow because I wasn't sure if we were gonna break above and form a new range here, right? And of course we didn't, right? So we're now back at support, right? So at this level here, unless we show some significant weakness here, I think BAT versus ETH, I mean BAT is looking weak compared to ETH just because ETH is looking so strong, right? So this here should be support. If we, previous level of support here. If we bounce here, then we continue in this range, right? If we break below it, then I'll be looking at, not this, I don't know what this is, but I'll be looking at this level here as the next level of support. Note that this is the edge of a high volume cluster, right? So I can even put the VWAP icon. That's why that was a circle there. But yeah, I'll be looking at this level here as the next level of support, and of course we've got the yearly VWAP right there. So yeah, at the moment it does look like we want to be ranging inside of this level here. Okay, we're right at support. Moving on to Link versus USD. So Link is still finding support at around about $6. That's great to see. right? So $6 is support. However, we have been rejected a number of times. We've not even tried resistance. We're being rejected a number of times here at the value area low of this year's VWAP, right? So in context, you can see where we are there. So that's the blue kind of area there, but we've got a significant level of resistance here. We've got a little range forming here, right? So that's basically where the arrow is. This is support until proven otherwise. $7.80 is resistance until proven otherwise, if we can even get there, because at the moment it won't even go inside that value area low of the year's VWAP. All right, so we'll just have to wait and see if we can continue rotating here, or if this is a sign of weakness. The longer we spend at support means that the more likelihood is that we go down. So just bear that in mind. Okay, we could be looking at $5 now as the next level of support for Link USD. All right, but at the moment we're being held by $6, and $7.80 will be the next level of resistance. Okay, Link versus ETH. Just delete some of these scribbles. Okay, so this level here is definitely resistance. It's not a question anymore. I'm going to put that as red. Okay, and we've just broken, this is not good. We've just broken below the yearly VWAP. It's too close to call just yet, but if we go all the way down here, I can almost guarantee that this level will now be resistance, just like it was here. And here was previous support, broke below it, we couldn't even get back above it again, and here we are. This was resistance, we broke above it, we held it for a while here. Okay, it got held as support, but now we've broken below it, so that's not a good sign for Link, right? So we could potentially be forming a little range all the way here like this, where this is support and this is resistance. Okay, but like I said, if we get below it, then you have to look at this yearly VWAP as potential resistance as well. Okay, this is a low volume area here in context, so if we do lose that level, it'll be very quick to get to this level and potentially even this one level down here, right? So that's what we're looking on Link versus ETH. If, however, we do reclaim this yearly VWAP here and reclaim this level, then we'll begin trying to get back above here. We're looking at those levels here as levels of potential resistance. Okay, so for now it does look like it wants to go down all the way down to around about 4,950 sats. Sorry, 4,950 Wei. It's Ethereum, not Bitcoin. Finally, moving on to Uniswap. Uni USD. Now Uni is doing constructive price action. This is very good. So let me just delete some of these brush marks. Okay, so this is definitely a change in market structure, right? At least on the daily. So this is a previous high. We deviated, came back below, went all the way to the bottom of the range again. And we broke above it, came back inside of the range, but we got rejected very, very quickly and got straight back above it. Okay, so look at that. Came back inside the range. There's a little candle there that it was threatening to go down again, but we broke above it. Okay, so this is now support. This is support. This is the next level of resistance here. Okay, so ultimately I'm looking at these levels here. So like this. Okay, there is previous level here of support that we've broken down, and this is basically where we're struggling right now, but there's a low volume node just below us here, around about $6.50. Okay, so at $6.50 should act as support, as it does look like we are above that, right? So this is potentially the next range that we see forming. We could even form a little range inside of there for now, right? But without going sort of like into much depth on that, this is definitely resistance here, and this here, previous significant level of resistance, should now have turned to support. Okay, so that's a significant level of support because there's a high volume cluster there as well. So $6 as support, $8 as resistance for Uni versus USD. Uni versus ETH. Now Uni is looking fairly strong. I'm not sure why. There must have been some news or something, because Uni is outperforming Ethereum right now, which is strange because Ethereum is even outperforming Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been doing quite well. So yeah, this is a level of support now, as I would consider that tested. Okay, resistance, 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 resistance again. We broke above it, came down, and we bounced to there, right? So that's now a confirmed level of support. So this is support. This here will be resistance until proven otherwise. We are struggling to get above this level here, but in my personal opinion, this level here is the most significant level, if you like. Okay, so even though we are finding a little bit of resistance here, as you can see, it's the edge of this little volume cluster there. There's a low volume node there, but I think that we could potentially be forming a range all the way down here between 500 way and 650 way. All right, so resistance and support for now. Okay, so I'll just put 2 lines there like that, so it makes it a little bit clearer. All right, so that's UNI versus ETH. So with all that out of the way, I think that's all of the coins now. So I can do a little recap. Let's move on to Bitcoin a second. Let's just have a look at what we're doing. I hope this kind of helps you, puts you on the right side of the trades, and kind of helps you on the sort of a higher time frame in terms of support and resistance. So let's just start here with the smaller time frames. Here on Bitcoin, we have been rejected at that weekly level, of course. We have kind of like, it looks like it wants to go higher here, but we haven't even tried this daily VWAP here. So we've got a daily VWAP at around about $20,700. We've also got a daily VWAP close that is untapped, it's naked, right? Around about $20,150, and then at 20,000 we've got the weekly VWAP, right? So those are the levels of support right now. Of course, needless to say, 21,000, 21,200 is the next level of resistance. In terms of the 4-hour chart here, you can see that basically we tapped that level. We're coming a little bit lower. We've not kind of bounced on that daily VWAP just yet, but we could potentially bounce there. If not, then we've got 20,500, which is point of control there. We've also got the monthly VWAP at around about $20,180, 2,200, something like that. And we've got the more important level that I'm looking for, the significant level of support, which is round about here, $19,600. Break below that, and I think we've got a whole list of problems here now. If we break below 19,600, then we're looking at this weekly level for support, which wasn't very good because we deviated below it here, right? And then we've also got like sort of this poor low calling. So $19,600 wants to hold really, and that's definitely a level that I would be interested in going long. At these levels here, you want to be going short, and like I said, 22,000, 21,700 as resistance, but ultimately this mid-level here, 21,200, $21,000 as a significant level of resistance for now. Okay, so nothing much has changed. There's nothing going today going on in the Federal Reserve, so I hope you guys have a great weekend. Remember that the weekends tend to be a little bit more volatile because there's less liquidity in the markets, on top of it being summer, so just be careful with that. There's more likely to have squeezes and stuff like that happening at the weekends. I will have another TA update for you guys on Monday, but until then, I hope this has helped. And yeah, I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.